Hello, my friends. Let me ask you something today. Why does daily discipline beat big ideas? Welcome, my friends. I'm Fred. Here we talk about business investments, real life, and money, all from my personal perspective. And this question could easily apply to investing, to fitness, to relationships. But today, I want to focus specifically on business. Why does discipline win over big ideas? Because in real life, discipline beats almost everything. We love the idea of the genius entrepreneur, the brilliant visionary, the person who one day, wakes up one day with revolutionary idea and suddenly becomes successful. But the thing is, most of the time, that's a myth. Real success is not built on flashes of inspiration. Real success is built on boring, repetitive, consistent actions. In fact, discipline itself often generates great ideas. Let me give you an example. I've seen many creative professionals, writers, designers, content creators, who don't wait for inspiration to appear. They simply sit down every day and do the work. A writer doesn't produce a book because one day he had a magical idea. He produces a book because he sits down every morning and writes, even when he doesn't feel like it. The idea comes from the discipline, and business works exactly the same way. I am a huge defender of this concept. Discipline is not glamorous, it's not exciting, and many times it feels forced, but it is the only reliable path forward. Let me give you a very concrete example from my own life. Construction projects. Anyone who has ever worked with construction knows exactly what I'm talking about. When you start a building project, whether it's a house, a warehouse, or any kind of property, you enter a battle. You buy the land, you start investing the money, and from that moment, you are trapped until the project is finished. There is no way out. If you stop in the middle, you lose. If you abandon the project, you lose. If you try to sell an unfinished building, you lose even more. Because the only people willing to buy an unfinished property are opportunists, professionals who will offer you a terrible price. So, what forces you to win in construction? Daily, simple discipline. Showing up every day, checking the progress, buying material, managing workers, solving problems. Little by little, brick by brick, day by day, every day. And only at the end, when the building is complete, do you finally get your reward. This is one of the biggest lessons discipline taught me. Now, let me give you another example, a much simpler one. Years ago, my brother and I opened a small auto repair shop, and we create a very small rule to improve customer experience. We prepare little kits for clients, a teeny plastic bag, inside it, a business card, and four small candies. That's it. Nothing revolutionary, nothing expensive. But customers love it. It was a simple gesture, a small touch of care that made people feel appreciated. Over time, I am absolutely sure that this little habit generated loyalty, positive word of mouth, and extra business. But here's the interesting part. The hardest thing was not the idea, it was the discipline to keep doing it, making the kids, not let them run out, buying more candies, buying more bags, preparing them again and again. It was a small, almost silly task, but it required consistency. And consistency is always harder than creativity. At another point, we created a promotion. Customers who spend above a certain amount would get a free car wash. Again, simple idea, but executing it require daily discipline. Separating the cars, organizing the schedule, making sure the washes were done. Most business ideas fail not because they are bad, but because people don't have the discipline to execute long term enough. That's the brutal truth. Now, here's something important. Discipline is not always heroic. Sometimes discipline is simply not quitting, going back to the construction. Part of discipline is also emotional control, not getting desperate, not selling your asset too early, not making impulsive decisions. I gave an example recently of a warehouse I built many years ago. Over a period of about 20 years, that property appreciated more than 700% in market value. Was that all because I am a genius? Of course not. There was luck involved, there was local development, there were economic factors. But one thing was essential: I had the discipline to hold it, to maintain, and to manage, to be patient. This discipline is not only about doing things, it's also about not doing stupid things. Now, let me bring in a counterpoint here. Discipline alone is not enough. You also need strategy. Being disciplined in the wrong direction doesn't help. If you are consistent at doing something that makes no sense, you are just consistently wasting time. So, discipline must be connected to a clear plan. But the thing is, even the best plan in the world is useless without discipline. That's why discipline beats big ideas. Big ideas without execution are just fantasies. Another reflection, another reflection I've been having, it's about my own portfolio. I have several rental properties that generate income. They gave me financial stability and peace of mind over the years. But Brazil has high taxes on rental income, almost 27.5% in income tax. And the government keeps creating more and more rules. So I've been considering slowly transitioning from physical properties to investment funds, rates, and similar assets. Here in Brazil, we call them fees. Why am I mentioning this? Because even financial transitions like this require discipline. It's not something you do emotionally, it's not something you do overnight. It requires planning, patience, and consistent action over time. Discipline again. And there is another important mindset behind all of this. I personally focus much more on income than on net worth. Many people obsess over how big their assets look on paper, but a huge asset without cash flow doesn't solve real life problems. A property that doesn't generate income is just an expensive trophy. What really changes your life is predictable, consistent income. And building income is a pure exercise in discipline. Saving every month, investing regularly, improving businesses step by step, not chasing shining new ideas every week. So, let me summarize the core message here. Big ideas are exciting. Discipline is boring. Big ideas make you feel smart. Disciplines makes you successful. Most people overestimate inspiration and underestimate consistency. And that's why daily discipline wins in businesses, in investing, in fitness, in relationships, in everything. If you show up every day without brilliancy, you will outperform most geniuses who never execute. So, the real question is not, what is your next big idea? The real question is, what are you disciplined enough to do every single day? Think about that. Thank you all for watching, my friends. Let me know in the comments what you think about this topic. And I'll see you in the next video.